Texas. I am Molly Gardner with breaking news. Gerrymandering has suppressed minority votes since 1812. What is gerrymandering, you might ask? As John C. Moritz from Caller Time puts it, gerrymandering is the practice of drawing the boundaries of state house and congressional districts in such a way to keep one group in power and the others on the margins. It's a practice that over the decades has been perfected by both political parties. You can also think of it how Josh LaFair does. Now, LaFair compares gerrymandering to a board game, and he calls it map maker. In this game, each player is a political party, and players go around separating voters into districts, and whoever has the most districts at the end of the game wins. He says there's a lot of scheming, there's a lot of strategizing, and there's a lot of backstabbing. This has been going on for over 200 years and coined its name from Massachusetts Governor Elbridge Gerry. Now, Gerry signed a redistricting plan that was drawn to give Gerry's party dominance. One of the newly drawn districts looks similar to a salamander. The people combined his last name, Gerry, the latter half of salamander, mander, to make the name Gerrymander. Now, here's a picture of a famous map that Gerry drew that coined this name. So there's some added wings and feet for comic effect, but you can see the comparison here. Here is also an example of gerrymandering in Texas. While gerrymandering is a national issue, Texas is considered ground zero. You can see how this map might have alternative motives. Veteran voting rights lawyer Gary Hubert even calls Texas a breeding ground for voter suppression. Now, gerrymandering suppresses voting rights more than you would think in Texas. Because of gerrymandering, Republican lawmakers are more likely elected, and they are more likely to vote on voter-suppressing laws, such as purging the voter rolls, limiting polling locations, and strict voter ID requirements. Now, this suppresses minorities specifically. Although both parties are guilty of playing mapmaker, Democrats did it when they were in charge, and Republicans just happen to be taking the lead right now. So no one is innocent. Minority and left-leaning groups in Texas in the past few decades have taken some of these possibly discriminative district outlines to court. Now, here's a picture of former lobbyist Russ Tidwell in 2017 on his way to a federal courthouse in San Antonio. He is holding Republican-drawn maps, and he's on his way to fight for minority right groups. In 2011, Texas congressional and state house plans were believed to violate the U.S. Constitution and Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Now, this case went on for 7 years, and in 2018, in a 5-4 ruling, only one of the 11 districts being reviewed was deemed unconstitutional. When critiqued of this possible discriminative redistricting, Texas House of Representatives member Drew Darby claimed they were legal and complied with the law. And he's right, kind of. Under the U.S. Constitution, gerrymandering is legal. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote, "The Constitution supplies no objective measure for assessing whether a districting map treats a political party fairly." However, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which was previously mentioned, made it illegal to draw districts that intentionally dilute the voting power of minorities. Now, this was first seen after the civil rights movement to dilute the black voters. So extremely discriminative gerrymandering is illegal. And you may be thinking, well, how do they know it is changing the outcome? Well, from a district-by-district analysis of election returns over several election cycles, it shows Republicans consistently win greater proportion of state house and congressional seats than they do of the total statewide vote. So gerrymandering has a long history in America, and we have quite a ways to go. While sometimes the maps are obviously drawn for a certain outcome, it is very difficult to draw the perfect map. And it's very hard for the courts to decide how much gerrymandering is too much. In a ruling in 2004, the Supreme Court rejected almost every test for partisan gerrymandering and called it an unanswerable question. But according to Erica Clarique from Wired.com, in recent years, a quantitative approach is being considered. A workshop at Tufts University is being held this summer on the geometry of redistricting. In Clarick's words, it will train mathematicians to serve as expert witnesses in gerrymandering cases. The workshop has drawn more than 1,000 applicants. Hey, this is possibly the start to the end of gerrymandering in the U.S. Or we can hope. I'm Molly Gardner with Suspicious News brought to you. Thank you and have a good rest of your day.